Today's episode is in honor of Jackson Rohm. Jackson left us a year ago today, and we miss him and love him dearly. Here is to you, Jackson. We hope you are up there strumming your guitar and having a beer.
I can't even believe it's been a year, but for those of you that knew Jackson, our guy was one of a kind. And anyway, I just wanted to take a minute today to just recognize him and think of him. And I find myself doing this all the time. Not all the time, but at random times when I think of Jackson, whether it's hearing one of his songs on my playlist or something. And for those of you that don't know, Jackson was a very, very close friend of mine. We were roommates in college, my sophomore year, his junior year. And he's just a wonderful, wonderful human being. But he pisses me off because he left us last year, a year ago this time. And what I was going to say was, I find myself at times randomly being like, God damn it, Jackson, why did you do that? And it makes me so mad to think about it because I wish he was here. But you know what? He's not. And it's very, very unfortunate and tragic. It is, when you deal with death. I've realized death comes in like many forms. And if any of you have lost, your parent, I lost my dad, or my brother and I lost our dad, I should say, in 2015. And, I've talked about it before. Incredibly difficult, very, very much a new normal to this day. But, with time, when the passing, for example, of our dad, with time and with the fact that it wasn't tragic, he was 84, he lived a wonderful life, he succeeded in so many things, he had two amazing kids, the younger one that kid was really amazing, but, time really does make things better. And it makes things manageable. And again, that time differs for everybody. Some people bounce back, quickly. Honestly, for me, it probably took me 2 years. But really, after that 2 years, I always say the tears turned into smiles when I would think about things with my dad. And, that's nice. That's nice. But again, it does take time. In Jackson's situation, I'm going to use this as a little opportunity also in his honor to, again, advocate for everybody to take your health seriously. Jackson was incredibly fit. He was in great shape, great looking guy. Not that that matters, but he was a great looking guy. But, on the visible signs, you wouldn't think that there would be any chance of, a cardiac episode. And unfortunately, that's what happened with Jackson. He suffered a cardiac episode on a treadmill. And again, I'm sharing this in his honor. And I really am. I'm sharing this in his honor. And I'm sharing this as another call to action, call to arms for those of you out there to take your health seriously and take your internal and external health seriously. Obviously, the external signs, if you have external signs of issues, weight being the biggest one, if you're fat and you need to lose weight, you got to lose weight. I'm really, really adamant about the fact that I think weight is the key to a healthy lifestyle and to being in good health. Now, with that being said, even when you do have manageable weight like Jackson did, this is where I really advocate for, getting that physical one time a year, going to your doctor, getting the blood test like I talked about at the beginning of the year. Obviously, tracking your steps with the Fitbit, but really having a understanding of the data of your body, both from having the blood tests, having, that information, and then on a daily basis, tracking your steps, tracking your sleep potentially, and just, listening to your body. If you have red patches on your skin, that's a problem. Like, that's not normal. You need to address that. And chances are there's something that you're eating or consuming And all of that stuff is really, I don't look for topical solutions. I try to fix things from the inside out. Anyway, a little bit of a tangent, but I did want to use today to honor the Jack boy, and also, again, in his honor, to kind of push and advocate to you to take your health seriously and track things. And if you have questions, hit me up. I would love to be a part of your health journey. I really mean that. I really do. So anyway, okay, listen, I want to start off by revisiting a couple things from the past 2 episodes. Mainly, I got a few questions and a few people that we had some interesting chats on, and I did want to talk about this a little more. So a buddy of mine called me yesterday, and he's like, hey, as far as Julian Assange goes, why is America at fault in this when he's being held in an England prison? And so, I explained to him, he wasn't aware of the overall situation. So he said he'll listen to episode 58. But even before that, I explained to him that, this entire Assange WikiLeaks situation happened because he exposed really what was taking place in Iraq in terms of the CIA and the US military. And so the fact that he's still in England, that's just semantics. That's just semantics. And by the way, I think it's probably come through by now if you are a avid listener to me. But, I look at the United States and England, they're really joined at the hip. They really are. It's very rare that those two are not in step on things. And, that's been proven with this situation in Israel-Palestine. They've been pretty much lockstep on everything. And now that the 2-state solution is starting to be talked about even more, even Rishi Sunak, who's the Prime Minister of England, he's talking about it now, the same as the Biden administration. So those two countries are really kind of joined at the hip in many ways. And so what I think, and I've said this before, the reason Julian Assange is not being extradited to the United States to face trial is because I just think they've decided it's just less messy to not do that and not bring him to the United States and, get that public opinion riled up again. And so, I think they're just keeping him in the prison in England, and I have a feeling that's just going to continue probably until he passes away. Who knows? But I think they just don't want to kind of open up the can of worms. And so, again, that is possible because, these guys are, and by these guys, I mean the United States and England. I just think they're looking at it collectively, and this is what they've decided is the best for both entities. So anyway, that's a little bit of clarification on the Assange stuff. I also had another conversation yesterday with another friend in regards to Glenn Beck and the clip I played from him yesterday. And that conversation had kind of 2 components to it. One was my friend said, hey, I thought you liked Glenn Beck. You played a clip from him about those forever wars, and it seemed like you really agreed with him. And I said, hey, I did. Again, this goes back to really this mindset that I'm trying to get myself into and obviously get you guys into as well. And that is, to judge the take and not necessarily judge the person overall. And so I said, I did. I really liked that take from Glenn Beck about the forever wars. I actually liked what he said yesterday as well on the Patrick Bet David podcast, the clip I played where he talked about a black swan event.
That a black swan event will collapse it. And I think we are a war, a serious economic shock, a mass killing, a terrorist attack. That's when things will change. I think we're on the edge of...
And us being like one black swan event away from potential catastrophe. I did like that concept. The only thing that maybe I not disagreed with, but that I would add to that, and I didn't add this yesterday, that's why I also want to add it today, is, he talked about how other countries potentially are looking to seize an opportunity.
But we're in a place to where I think really bad people in other countries know it.
Listen, don't discount internally, entities internally. I don't know who those entities are, but entities inside the United States seizing on an opportunity. This touches a little bit on this uniparty concept, which is basically saying Republicans and Democrats, if they took off their clothes, they both have the same uniform on underneath it. So it's kind of like one big party and it's just a little bit of a facade. And I do buy into that concept. I really do. And I think currently one of the Republican candidates belongs to that party. So you piece that one together. But anyway, in regards to Glenn Beck, again, like I said, I think the only thing he should have said or added was that, hey, this could be coming externally from other countries, potentially looking at what's taking place here and seizing on an opportunity of weakness. Or this could happen internally by, again, a group that's looking to consolidate or take additional power. So I did want to clarify that in regards to Glenn Beck. And then again, like I said, let's judge the take. Let's seriously judge the take, because things are at a point where we just should not agree with everybody just because we agree with them. I really like this line. And we shouldn't disagree with everybody just because we disagree with them. For example, I don't really agree with a lot of things Bernie Sanders says, but you know what? He's come out several times on several different topics, and I was like, wow, that's really insightful. Okay, I totally agree with that. So I really, really encourage you, if you can, to kind of disassociate yourself with any, I guess, preconceived thoughts that you need to always be a certain way. God, it really also ties into that dogma concept, the concept of living with what other people deem appropriate. Man, we're tying all these episodes together. That's actually kind of nice. But anyway, long story, slightly longer. I really, really, really want to try to get you to simply judge specific takes, and let's try and cobble those specific takes into a cohesive, not really strategy, but more of just, okay, that makes sense. That does not make sense. That makes sense. That does not make sense. And I think that's fine. And regardless of who says it or what party they're affiliated with or what country they're from or what anything, I really am embracing this mentality, and I think it's a good one. Oh yeah, one more thing on Glenn Beck.
We could have a dictatorship from either direction if we're not careful.
I will give him credit for saying that. And again, remember, Glenn Beck, if you don't know, he is very conservative, super Republican, and he said we could have a dictatorship from either direction if we're not careful. I mean, that's a fair statement. That's a fair statement. I know there's a lot of talk in the press about Trump wants to be a dictator. I don't personally agree with that. I don't think that's the case. But what I do think is the case is what Glenn Beck said. We've got to be careful. Sometimes the wolf are in the sheep's clothing, as the expression goes. And another expression that I coined is, if the dots are that easy to connect, they're probably the wrong dots. So anyway, just kind of think about that a little bit. Seriously, think about that in a big picture, sort of like 30,000 square foot view. And again, like I said, I mean, everything should be on the table. Seriously. This stuff is crazy what's going on. Everything should be on the table, and don't rule out anything, and put a little bit of credence into, the old concept of the Jedi mind trick for all you Star Wars fans, and the concept of implanting a suggestion into another mind, or even a simpler way to think about it is you basically plant the seeds of what you want them to think or believe into their mind. So, think about that stuff. Really think about that stuff. All right, moving on. More clarity from yesterday. I had a few people ask me about the Elon Musk and why I said that, and they could not find the clip, and so I went and found it. So here's what he said.
Yeah, I grew up around a lot of Jewish people. I went to Hebrew preschool, Rachel Spiro in South Africa. My name is very Jewish.
I will tell you that for the past 10 years, people have assumed in my community that you were Jewish until I informed them otherwise.
Yeah.
Elon is a pretty Jewish name.
He's super Jewish.
Yeah.
And then I went to Israel when I was 13. Visited Masada. I'm certainly checking the boxes on a lot of things. Like I said, most of my friends are Jewish, just worked out that way. So sometimes I guess maybe I forget. Am I Jewish? I'm Jewish. Aspirationally Jewish.
So that was the clip. Again, I don't really have any issues with it whatsoever. I just find it strange. I find some of the things Elon Musk does very strange. And so, it makes you sort of think homie might be a double agent. Hey, I'm not the only one who thinks that. There's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of chatter on the internet about him being a plant, like a Pied Piper, the Pied Piper for them. Who's them? That's what we have to figure out. All right, last clip for the day. I'm going to play you a clip. All right, I'm giving you trigger warning for you. For you that don't like them. But this is an interesting clip from DT, Donnie Boy, Donald. Oh, what's his middle name? I forget. John? Is it Donald John Trump? James Trump? Hold on a second. I was right the first time. Donald John Trump. But anyway, listen to this clip. He talks about something I've talked about a lot, and that's quite frankly a pillar of what? The Deep Shallow Dive podcast. To an extent, it really kind of is. So this is interesting. And then also, now the conversation is turning to if Trump wins the nomination, who is his VP? And I will tell you, like him or not, the chatter I see definitely has this guy's name in a lot of that chatter.
And this I do for Vivek, because he's very big into it. I happen to agree with him, but he said, could you mention this? I will never. She said, I love Vivek. I love him too now. I didn't love him when he was running, but I like him now. It's amazing the way you can like somebody when you win, right? But Vivek is great. He's really great. But he wanted this, and I'll give him full credit for it. It's very important, actually. I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency.
All right, there it is. CBDC, central bank digital currency. That was interesting. And all right, that's it, everybody. Hey, I'm going to take us out with one of my favorite songs in the world. And honestly, I mean this. This is literally one of my favorite songs. And it is Jackson doing his version of Joey by Concrete Blonde. I always used to tell him, I'm like, dude, I love this song. I can't get enough of it. And he's like, that's not my original music. Why don't you love my original music? And I do love his original music. I really do. But his rendition of Joey by Concrete Blonde was always one of my favorites. So anyway, enjoy the track. Rest in peace, Jack. And call a spade a spade.
This episode was brought to you by Boost Liquid Vitamins. Wake up, take your Boost, start your day. Drink your vitamins, build your immune system with Boost. Available on Boost.com.